Hey folks, here OS Reviews. You're watching our video review of the Dunu-Topsound Titan 1. These are a pair of in-ear style earphones that retail for $135 on Amazon.com and also through the manufacturer's website. In terms of design, they are pretty striking, but most importantly, these sound superb, especially for the money, and they have a pretty interesting look as well as sound to them. And that's because Dunu states that the Titan 1 has a T-diaphragm driver, which supposedly creates a very natural yet, quote, energetic sound that makes it very similar to listening to music in a concert as opposed to something that's recorded and you're listening through your phone, CD player, or at home. Otherwise, in terms of specifications, we have a 1.2 meter long cable length, which is about average, a 3.5 millimeter gold-plated connector for standard connection jacks to your smartphone, your MP3 player, so on and so forth. There is a 13 millimeter driver on board. The pressure level is 90 decibels. The independence is 16 ohms, which is again about average, although the frequency response is a bit wider than we expected at 20 hertz to 30,000 hertz, which is good. Taking a look at the box here, I have a pretty clean presentation. On the sides and basic info in various languages. On the back, there is a QR code you can scan to learn more info about the unit, and there's also some information about what's included in the box. You do get quite a lot of contents for the money, so in here we have access to, again, a very good presentation. This is where the actual earphones would rest. We've already taken those out, obviously. We have access to 3 different tips that you can select from, and you can also change the effects, such as of the music depending on what types of tips you put on. So this is one type. There's also another one that's included in the box over here. This little diagram here shows you the difference between a T-diaphragm driver, which the Dunu-Topsound Titan 1 uses, and a typical driver. So you can see it's a bit more dynamic and produces more of a live acoustic sound. So in here we have the box, which you can use to carry the Titan 1 without damaging it during travel. There is a very glossy front. There's also a 1-year warranty card included in the box. And in this little box, we have access to, again, more tips, which again changes the effect of the music slightly. And that's basically all the contents you have inside of the packaging. So again, a very good presentation. Checking out the design of the earphones themselves next, there is this ribbon that you can use to tie everything together when you're traveling. And the actual wire is crafted out of fabric, which is great. It makes it produce less sound if you're moving around, and also makes it tear resistant, so it's a bit more rugged and friendly for traveling purposes. There's also a splitter, which is crafted out of metal and engraved with the Titan 1 logo. The other side features a 3.5mm gold-plated jack, which again is crafted out of aluminum. And finally, there's access just to the earphones themselves. Now, again, these are audiophile grade headphones, so they're not meant for answering calls. So you won't find access to a microphone as well as a remote on here for use with the Android or iOS smartphone. You might typically find on a less expensive pair of earphones. So that's something to note. On here you have access to the Dunu-Topsound logo embedded, and again the main frame is crafted out of aluminum, so it feels quite sturdy. It's also a little bit hefty as well. So something I will say is that if you wear these for extended periods of times, such as for 3 to 4 hours on one continuous usage, it definitely feels a little bit more hefty and does not feel 100% comfortable compared to some other options we've seen lately. You will notice that the design is a little bit strange, and that's because this particular side, the metal actually goes onto the inside of your ears and it catches on the frame, so it prevents the actual earphones from actually falling out. So that's why the silicone tips are jutted out at this angle. This makes these pretty secure even if you're moving around or exercising, which is good. Dunu-Topsound claims that these are extremely noise isolating earphones, and in our test we found that they are pretty noise isolating. They won't fan out very easily, especially again if you're moving. However, they're not the most noise isolating headphones that we've ever tested. It also kind of depends on your ear size. For us, it worked okay, but I know for some of our friends, they actually said it wasn't the most secure fit that they got. With that being said, it definitely seals off any engine sounds if you're listening to music on a plane. Even though they're not exactly noise-canceling headphones, they do a pretty good job of allowing you to enjoy the music and kind of escape from the world around you. So overall, the construction quality is top-notch, and there's also the red and blue rings, which allows you to tell which side is the left and which side is the right, so you can quickly plug it into the ears and then enjoy your music. So design, definitely striking and something that I think is worth the money, so to speak. It's well constructed. I don't think it's going to break down too easily, which is good. Moving on to audio quality next, again, the manufacturer claims these deliver a really good natural sound, and in our tests, we found this to be relatively true. It's certainly very crisp. They are very bright sounding, so you will hear all the intricate parts of the music. If you listen to classical music, you can hear the different instrumentals behind it. So the cellos, the bass, the violin, and all the pointed out, the Titan One design also allows Dunu to fit in a pretty large soundstage. This creates a out-of-the-head experience and creates a very three-dimensional sound that makes the Titan One really sound live and acoustic, as opposed to music that's stuck onto a very small pair of in-ear style headphones, and this is rather impressive. Again, the sound signature here is quite bright and energetic, however it's not screeching, so if you're listening to higher frequencies, it doesn't sound too forced either. It sounds breathy and airy, which is great. And the lower ends of the frequencies, such as the bass, are also articulate, they are responsive, and they do a pretty good job of providing some thump onto your music, so I think they're very balanced in that sense as well. They aren't the most bassy pair of earbuds that we've tested, however, for general users, I think they'll be pleased with the experience that you get from these. Overall, I would say that the sound quality on the Titan One are clean, they're articulate, and they really are impressive for the money, especially considering these are audiophile grade headphones. Some things I would have liked to see be changed in future iterations would be a flat wire design, just because that would prevent a lot of tangling from happening. Additionally, there is a bit of sound leakage, so even though they are pretty noise isolating in the sense you can't hear what's going on in the background, other people sitting next to you can still kind of hear the music if you play it at louder volumes. And speaking of the volume, these can get pretty loud, so they will do well for all types of genres of music across the board. Going back for a moment onto the silicone tips that are included, the red tips that you saw presented directly on top of the packaging, which I can show you briefly over here. These are the narrow type tips, so they do a pretty good job of creating condensed music, whereas the black tips that you saw in the box that was included are more spaced apart, and so they do a little bit better if you're playing back music with a bit more bass to them. And there's also some Sony hybrid tips as well, so in total you have 9 tips, which do well for different types of music across the board. So if you don't want to constantly swap these out for a slightly different type of sound reproduction, then those do well for users on the travel or on the go, I would say. So again, in general, I would say that I'm very pleased with the performance as well as the build of the Titan One. And to learn more information about these particular in-ear style headphones, be sure to check out our full RIN review, but this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.